Well, hello and welcome to this English lesson about sleep. I'm actually wondering if you are a little sleepy while you're watching this lesson, or maybe you're wide awake. In English, when we talk about sleep, we talk about that time at night when you're just laying in bed with your eyes closed and not doing anything but resting, and you're kind of out for the night. You're just kind of having a good night's sleep. I'm excited to talk about this, and I'll explain a little bit why I'm doing the topic of sleep. I was recently on a trip with some students from school, an overnight trip. And as a teacher, it can be a little hard to get a good night's sleep when you're on a trip with students. They tend to stay up later than they're supposed to. Sometimes they make it difficult. So I did get some sleep on Thursday night and on Wednesday night. But while I was there, I was thinking to myself, what should my next English lesson be about? And I thought, you know what? I should do an English lesson about sleep. So once again, welcome to this English lesson about sleep, where you'll learn some words and phrases that you can use in your next English conversation to talk about sleep. Sleep. So sleep is just a state of being. It's the opposite of being awake. And it's something that's very necessary for human beings. You need 6 or 7 or 8, maybe 9 hours of sleep a day to be healthy. And sleep itself is a time where you go to bed, you close your eyes, and you enter into a state where you are not conscious. You are sleeping. You are in a sleep state. And while you sleep, I think it helps your body repair itself. It helps your brain to relax and process everything that you did the day before. And all of this happens without you really being aware of it. For me, sleep feels a little bit like time travel. I close my eyes at 10 or 10:30 p.m. and then I open my eyes at 6 or 6:30 and I don't remember time passing. By the way, that's not actually my sleep pattern. My sleep pattern is to fall asleep around 10:30, and sometime in the middle of the night, I do wake up to go pee. I'm getting older. I usually get up once in the night to go to the washroom. But sleep, a wonderful thing that human beings do at night. I love it. I really, really do. And a broader way to talk about it is sleep is one form of rest. Humans, it's important to rest. During the day, you might have a coffee break where you can rest for a bit. When you go for a long walk, you might need to rest. So rest isn't the same as sleep, but sleep is a type of rest. Okay, so we need many different forms of rest if we are active, especially if you have a very physical job. And sleep is a type of rest. So let's talk about what you do. You get ready for bed, and then you go to bed, and then you fall asleep. That's kind of how you go through the process of sleeping. So for me, around 9:30, quarter to 10 at night, I start to get ready for bed. I go to the washroom. I brush my teeth. Because I'm older, I take my pills. I have 2 medications that I have to take. But I get ready for bed. I do all the things I need to do so that I can then go to bed. So getting ready for bed is everything you do before you actually get in bed. And then when you say that when you go to bed, it's the physical act of getting in bed, but it also describes everything you do beforehand. Like I could say, I'm going to get ready to go to bed. And then I would do all those things. And then when I actually get to my bed and crawl in. When you go to bed, though, it doesn't mean that you're going to go to sleep right away. Some people go to bed and read. Some people might have a TV in their room, and they might go to bed and watch TV for a little bit before they actually go to sleep. If you have a partner, you might do other things that I'm not going to describe here. There's more than just sleep that can happen in a bed between consenting adults, but that's for a different lesson someday. And then once you're done reading, or once you're done maybe watching some TV, or maybe you just lay for a bit and think about life, eventually you will fall asleep. So this is when your eyes close and you enter into a state of sleep. So you can be in bed not sleeping, but the moment where I think sometimes we say when you drift off, then you are asleep, and you hopefully have a very, very nice evening. Now, when morning comes, different things happen. First, you wake up, and then you get up. And it's kind of hard sometimes to understand the difference between these two. So I usually describe it this way. If I'm asleep, the moment my eyes open, I would describe that as waking up. I wake up when I go from a state of sleep to being awake. It doesn't mean that I'm out of bed, okay? That I would use the verb to get up. So I wake up around 6:30, and I get up around, I don't know, if I wake up at 6, I get up around 6:05 or 6:10. If I wake up at 6:30, I get up around 6:35. I don't often get up right after I wake up. I usually wake up, and then Jen and I sometimes talk for a few minutes, and then eventually I will get up and get the day started. Now, I'm also someone, though, who needs to have a nap during the day. Now, you'll notice that you can have a nap, but you can also nap. So you can use it as a noun and a verb. I like to nap on Saturday afternoons. I've mentioned that a few times. I like to take a nap, or I like to have a nap. So there's a few ways to talk about it. Let me repeat all those. I like to nap on Saturday afternoons. Later today, I might have a nap. Later today, I might take a nap. And a nap is just a really short amount of sleep. For me, 5 to 10 minutes, sometimes half an hour, depending how tired I am. And I always nap on a couch. I can't nap in bed, because if I try to take a nap in bed, I sleep for too long, and then sometimes I wake up very confused. So I usually have a nap on the couch behind me. I'll show you where I have a nap. This is where I'll be napping later today, probably. And I like to nap sitting up on the couch or in a chair. Naps are amazing. They're like one of the best things in life. Now, there's two ways to describe sleep. You can have a good night's sleep, or you can have a bad night's sleep. It's so nice to have a good night's sleep. I actually had a good night's sleep. I went to bed on time, and I got up somewhat early because I had to finish making this lesson. I had to find all the pictures for this lesson, but I had a good night's sleep. When you have a good night's sleep, you're alert. You're able to do things. You can think clearly. But when you don't sleep well, when you have a bad night's sleep, in informal English, you might say, I slept like crap last night, or I slept horribly. Oh, I had a terrible night's sleep. I think we have more ways of describing a bad night's sleep than we do describing a good night's sleep. When you have a bad night's sleep, it's not good. You end up going through the day and feeling tired because you have a lack of sleep. So yesterday, I definitely was feeling that I had a lack of sleep. Thursday night, I only slept for about 6 hours, and I had a lack of sleep yesterday. We went on a hike around the city of Hamilton, and I love walking and hiking, but I could tell that I was suffering from a lack of sleep. We also describe that by saying you have a lack of energy. So lack of sleep, lack of energy. And then one more before we do questions is to have no gumption. In English, gumption is a word we use to describe having energy. When you have a lot of gumption, you have a lot of energy to do things. When you have no gumption, it is very difficult to do things because you just don't have a lot of energy, usually from a lack of sleep. I feel very energetic right now, but I feel like later today I'm going to yawn quite a bit. I think it's going to hit me later today. In English, when you say something hits you, it means you feel it. I think right now I slept okay. I'm feeling energetic, but later I'm going to yawn. When you yawn, it is an involuntary action. You don't decide to yawn. It just happens. And it usually happens when you're tired or fatigued. I think it's a response to maybe not having enough oxygen in your bloodstream. I'm not a doctor or medical professional, but I think that's what it is. But it's definitely something you do when you are tired, when you're sleepy. I sometimes yawn in class when I'm teaching, and when students catch me yawning, they're like, "What? Why are you yawning? You're supposed to be teaching right now." But it's not something you decide to do. When I was on the trip that I recently went on, whenever we sat down, I would yawn, and I would be afraid that I was going to nod off because I was a little bit tired. But again, sometimes people make noise when they yawn. Sometimes they do this, like, they make like a little tired sigh sound, but definitely an action that you do when you are tired. And it's polite to cover your mouth when you yawn. Insomnia. So insomnia is a condition. It is something that you would say you have. You could say, I have insomnia. And it means that you have trouble sleeping at night. Maybe you go to bed at 11 p.m., you sleep for 1 hour, and then you're wide awake, and you can't get back to sleep. That's how we would say that. I don't have this. I do sometimes wake up in the night, but it's usually easy for me to fall back asleep. Jen sometimes, though, has trouble falling back asleep. I wouldn't say it's so serious that she has insomnia. I think insomnia is something that happens regularly, like every night you have difficulty sleeping. I had a coworker once who had insomnia. He would go to bed and it would take him 4 or 5 hours to fall asleep. That's a long time. So I'm glad that I fall asleep quickly, and I certainly feel bad for people who have insomnia. Sleeping pills. I've only ever had sleeping pills once, and that's when I was in the hospital after my surgery. I was having trouble sleeping after I had heart surgery, and they gave me just a tiny dose of a sleeping pill to help me sleep. So a sleeping pill is a medication that they will prescribe to you that will help you sleep. So if you're someone who has insomnia and you go to the doctor might prescribe sleeping pills for you. The doctor might prescribe a pill you can take to help you sleep at night. This is what I was worried about yesterday a little bit, that I was going to nod off or doze off. This is when you fall asleep during the day when you're not really supposed to. If any of you ever went to university or were in university, or if you remember when you were in high school, sometimes when you have a boring teacher, you might nod off while the teacher is talking, or you might doze off. This guy looks like he's a street artist, and it's probably the middle of the day. Maybe it's a little bit hot, and there are no customers currently buying his drawings. So he looks like he's decided to doze off a little bit. I use nod off. Of the two phrases, I use this one more. I don't like it when I accidentally nod off. It's really embarrassing if it happens during a meeting. That did happen to me once. I was in a staff meeting, and I felt myself nodding off. So not a good thing. To snore. If I sleep on my back, I snore. I'll make a snoring sound. It's not a nice sound. It's like... So snoring is when, inside your nose and your throat, it's when the air passage closes a little bit, and then I'm not sure exactly what's moving in there, but something inside is moving as you breathe and creating a sound. So snoring is not a nice thing if you sleep in the same room as other people, because It's just a sound where it makes it hard for other people to sleep. So if I sleep on my back, we'll talk about sleep positions in a bit. If I sleep on my back, I snore. If I sleep on my side, I don't snore. I sometimes still snore a little bit, but snoring is making a sound while sleeping at night. To snooze. So snooze is just another word for having a nap or sleeping a little bit. You could say, by the way, you can also use it as a noun. I'm going to have a snooze, or I'm going to snooze on the couch. That's the verb form. Our dogs snooze when they come in. So when Jen works outside all morning, she comes in to have a snack and some tea, and both dogs will snooze for 10 minutes. Walter didn't used to snooze when he came in, but he's getting, I think he's a year and a half. He'll be 2 years in the spring. He's starting to show signs of slowing down a bit. He's a little less energetic, so he will snooze a little bit when he comes in. To hit the sack, to hit the hay. I use the phrase to hit the hay. Might be because I live on a farm, but it's just simply an informal way of saying that you are going to bed. Okay. So even on the trip I was on, I might say to someone, okay, I'm just going to hit the hay. I'm feeling tired. I know it's early, but I'm just going to hit the sack. And again, I use hay, and it might be regional, but both phrases work. It simply means to go to bed. To sleepwalk, I do not do this. We had one kid who did do this for a little bit years ago. It means to walk around at night, but you're not actually awake. So when you sleepwalk, for some reason, you get out of bed and you're still, like, you're not in a deep sleep, but you're not awake. You're still, you're still in some sort of sleep state, and you walk around, and you might even do things like you might sleepwalk and go and open your front door and then go back to bed. And then the next morning, the front door is open and you don't know who opened it. Okay, so a dream is something you have at night, and the verb is to dream. So I could say, last night I had a really cool dream, or last night I dreamt about something cool. I dreamt about going to France last night. So when you dream, it's like you see, how would I describe it? It's like you see a little movie in your own head, usually with you in it, about things that you are doing or experiencing. It's similar to imagining. During the day, you can imagine yourself doing things. At night, when you dream, you don't have to think about it. It just happens to you. So you can dream at night. And then, of course, there are bad dreams, which we call nightmares. So a dream is just any time at night. Like, this boy is feeding an obviously larger than life giraffe. So this would be like a dream, something unreal. And a nightmare is simply a dream where scary things happen. And I use the word bad dream as well to talk about that. To sleep in. So generally, people will sleep in when they don't have to go to work or when they don't have to go to school. So usually people will sleep in on the weekends. Okay. If I was in the UK, would I say at the weekends? Yeah, I think they say it differently. But for me, I sleep in a little bit on Saturday and Sunday mornings because I don't need to go to work. So what it means to sleep in is, if you normally get up at 5 a.m., on Saturday, you might sleep in till 8 or 9 a.m. So you might stay in bed longer and sleep longer because you don't have to do anything. Sleeping in is a very enjoyable activity. I wish I was better at it, but that's okay. In order to wake up, you might have an alarm clock. This is a pretty old looking alarm clock, but you will set your alarm. Your alarm will go off, and then you might decide to hit the snooze button. I have a picture of that, so you can sleep for 5 or 10 minutes more. But again, let me repeat that. An alarm clock is a clock that will ring to wake you up. The alarm will go off. So when you go to bed, you will set your alarm. If you set it for 5 a.m., at 5 a.m., your alarm will go off. It might be your phone. Your clock or your phone might go beep, beep, beep to wake you up. And if you want to sleep for another 5 or 10 minutes, I think my alarm clock, if I hit snooze, it goes off again 7 minutes later. It's usually somewhere in there, 5 to 10 minutes. And then you really need to get up because you might be running late. And then you might sleep through your alarm. I'm not sure if you can see it here, but this person, their dog has climbed into bed and the dog's head is over his ear. So he might sleep through his alarm. This has never happened to me. It's pretty easy for me to wake up if I hear a noise. If my alarm goes up, it wakes me up. But I do know there's some people where their alarm might go off and they might sleep through it. They might not hear the beeping at all, and then they might be late for work. Sleep positions. So you can sleep on your back, you can sleep on your side, you can sleep on your stomach. I generally sleep on my side. I used to sleep on my back, but I do find if I sleep on my side, I snore less, so I sleep better. I have a better night's sleep if I sleep on my side. Slumber. So when you slumber, whenever I think of the word slumber, which means to sleep, it means the same thing. It's like a word you hear or you see in a fairy tale, like Sleeping Beauty, or maybe you're reading an old book. Like it's not a word we use a lot. Like I don't say, I had a good slumber last night, or I'm going to slumber. We don't say that at all. But you will see this word if you read. Definitely if you read older books, for sure. And then to be wide awake. This is what we all hope for. This is kind of the opposite of sleep, but it's what you get if you sleep well. If you have a good night's sleep, you wake up energetic, you're wide awake, you're ready to do what you need to do that day. So I was not quite wide awake this morning. My alarm went off at 6 this morning because I wasn't done preparing this lesson. So I wasn't wide awake. So I'm glad the lesson went well. And I'm glad I didn't make any spelling mistakes on the slides. And I think it was a fairly good lesson on sleep. I might have missed a few words here and there, like bedtime. But other than that, I think maybe I'll redo this lesson in 3 years and I'll think of some other things to teach you.